The stunning Arthur's Seat is sandwiched between the waves of the Mornington Peninsula and the wine-growing rolling countryside of Red Hill. But today, on the climb to the famous lookout, a brutal battle will ensue in the race for yellow. It's Cameron Meyer with his nose in front, but with the yellow jersey comes a big bullseye on his back, as Meyer is being hunted by a group of 20 riders, all within 35 seconds of overall victory. One stage remains, it's 3 ascents of Arthur's Seat, and everything is at stake.
The beautiful images of the Mornington Peninsula, and all those that know the Mornington Peninsula know it ends right here on top of Arthur's Seat. Hello and welcome back to our coverage of the 62nd Jayco Herald Sun Tour. Today it's the final day, 120 kilometres, and the riders by the end of this day will know exactly how Arthur's Seat is as a painful venue. Yesterday though, the crashes are back with us as we came into Ngamba. Yes, a great win for Caleb Ewan, but all of those crashes.
There seemed to be a lot more than normal, and I spoke to a few of the riders and they said that there's a lot of nervous tension in the peloton over these last couple of days. No one can really put their finger on why it has happened, but there's a lot of infighting, a lot of elbows, a lot of pushing and shoving, and we saw the result of that with some nasty crashes, which is unfortunate.
Well, two of those riders are indeed contenders for the overall title of this race. One, Simon Clark, who won this race a year ago. He was badly bashed on both sides of his body, down the left side particularly. And also Robert Power. He leads the King of the Mountains competition, but he also is very much in the mix to take this race out, especially because it finishes right here on top of Arthur's Seat. Both will start the race today, but both will be swathed in bandages. But today the race will be decided right here on Arthur's Seat.
Absolutely, Phil. 3 times they come up this very difficult climb and finish up here on the top of the 3rd ascent. So it's almost as if we can forget about the last few days. It's going to come all down to this one particular stage, like a one-day race. And there are still 21 riders that are in the mix. On paper, any of them could win. Cameron Meyer's in the yellow jersey and in the box seat. But if you look just right behind him with Joe Cooper, Patrick Bevan, his teammate Simon Clark, then you go down to Lachlan Norris, Brendan Canty. Those guys are really good climbers as well. Anything can happen today.
Yes, it's not just the race for the yellow jersey either. The points jersey could change, the under-23 jersey could change, and the King of the Mountains could change. This is going to be a great finish. Let's talk tactics.
The tactics today are to maintain that yellow jersey, whether that's with myself or Cameron or Damo. As long as we're at the head of the classification, that's what's important. Obviously, we'll be defending a lot of attacking from potentially the Avanti team, but we've got 3 different options who are all going really well, and we're ready to defend.
Ask him how his form is. How are you going?
Well, if the week has been anything to go by, the riders have been attacking Orica Green Edge, but they haven't got the yellow jersey off Cameron Meyer yet, as they sign in for the last day of battle. And Neil van der Ploeg, all smiles there. Cameron, as ever, always looks a little bit serious.
We are expecting plenty of attacks today, so let's hear from some of the contenders.
Lachlan, 23 seconds. Can it be done?
Absolutely, yep. Look, anything can happen today. It's a hard stage and, you know, who knows what will happen, but I think it's wide open at the moment.
Simon Clark crashed yesterday, so that you would suspect eliminates him to be able to win today? No?
No, never. By all accounts, Pat Shaw's known him for a long time. He's the toughest bugger he knows, so there's no way you count a guy of that calibre out at any point. It's certainly not ideal preparation, and it kind of might narrow their plan a little bit, but there's still 2 very, very good riders that are going to take an awful lot to keep under wraps.
Yeah, look, it was a silly little crash at the bottom of the KOM yesterday, and I kind of landed on the bottom of the pack and tore myself up pretty badly, but got through okay and managed to help the team bring the breakaway back and set up the final for Caleb. So I'm a bit knocked around, but I'll be good to go today.
1 day remaining, and you look so calm. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel all right. It's a little bit nervous, I guess, because last year we didn't get to do this stage, so it's been a while since I've been here. 2011 was the last time I've raced it, so it'll be interesting. It's such a short stage that I'm sure it's going to be very entertaining.
The final stage of the Jayco Herald Sun Tour is by far the most difficult. 122 kilometres starting and finishing at the top of Arthur's Seat. They head south down towards Borneo, then they go past the RACV club at Cape Shank before heading back almost to Arthur's Seat, taking a right turn at Red Hill for another lap down through Merricks. Very picturesque, very lovely terrain, and then finally 3 circuits of the very difficult climb up to Arthur's Seat. King of the Mountain points on offer for all of those as well. You can just see here the profile how difficult it is. It's those 3 ascents at the end that are going to cause so much havoc to the peloton.
Serious faces, except on some of the riders who lost 25 minutes into Bendigo, because the first 21 riders in this race are separated by 34 seconds. No one can feel safe in their leaders' jerseys.
I think you're absolutely right there, Phil. Robert Power, he wants to hold on to the King of the Mountains jersey, but he's also in contention for the overall, and you can see the damage to the elbow of Simon Clark there. Let's hope that he has been able to recover from yesterday's spill, because he will play a role today.
I'd just like to say thank you for the way you've conducted yourself and the way you've raced this whole last 4 days. So may it continue for one more. Thanks very much, fellas. See you tonight. Shout you all a beer.
Oh, and don't forget that, boys, race director John Tavaro. It looks like they'll all be up for that. But first of all, they've got 3 hours or so of tough racing ahead of them now. The last time the race leader will move off in the leader's jersey, but will Cam Meyer have the strength today to convert that to the winners?
Well, the mention of beer did bring a smile to the nervous face of Cameron Meyer, the tour leader. I don't think he'll be thinking too much about that. Neutral section, as always, for the first couple of kilometres, and it is a very fast start. Predominantly downhill for the first 10 or 15 kilometres, which does encourage attacks.
Now, this first big circuit we go on, which culminates back on top of Arthur's Seat, is 89 kilometres. Then we have 2 more circuits of 16.5 each. Now, we can expect a lot of attacks from the gun, and we're getting them. Look at this, a group going clear. Immediately, the flag's gone in.
Well, it's the easiest way to attack, isn't it, Phil? Once it starts going downhill, everybody can attack in a downhill. Gets very difficult though once it starts to get a little bit lumpy. I can see Matthew Goss in there, 3rd wheel in the black and white colours of Etienne Kubecker. So the sprinter has made this group. Now these 2 riders are in between. It's Paul van der Ploeg and Dave Edwards from the Charter Mason team. They missed the initial move and now trying to compensate and get across. You can see Paul van der Ploeg there trying to encourage his teammate to get on the wheel. Come on, let's get going and see if we can bridge the gap.
Well, they're in no man's land now, and the block's gone on here because Orica Greenedge have quickly assessed that group of 13 riders. None is outside the 25-minute loss bracket, which means no reason yet to chase them down.
2 riders from Drapac Cycling. That's Sam Spokes at the front there, and Will Clark. He's been so animated in this year's race. Such a strong rider. His nickname is the Horse because he's so powerful, and he's certainly proving that.
Well, it was a brilliant win on Wednesday in the Cordamentha opening prologue time trial, but since then it went a little bit wrong. He lost 25 minutes on the road into Bendigo. So that's why these boys in white are not reacting yet. They're waiting to see how it goes. They know the Battle of Arthur's Seat will come, and there's no way they can avoid it, but they're not interested in these 13 leaders just now.
And that is why the Orica Greenedge riders aren't directly on the front of the peloton. And unfortunately for our 2 riders in between, they haven't been able to bridge across, so they're coming back into the main field. So the Jayco AIS under-23 national team, they're taking up the challenge of trying to bring the breakaway group back. And that's because Cameron Bailey, the 2nd place rider in the King of the Mountains competition, has slipped into that move. And this is the rider they're trying to get Cameron Bailey back from. Yeah, Robert Power leading the competition, the King of the Mountains for budget forklifts. So a lot of work for the under-23 national team to do to try and bring Cameron Bailey back into the fold.
This is the worst possible combination for Robert Power because Cam Bailey 8 points behind in the budget forklifts King of the Mountains competition, and there's 72 points on offer if you can cross the top of Arthur's Seat on 3 occasions. There's the man who's hoping to do something on the climb, Joe Cooper of New Zealand. He's right up in 2nd place. 4 seconds off the race win if he can get a good climb in those legs later. As the crowd cheer them on, we're coming in to Balnarring here. Still 60 kilometres of the day left, and it's Steele von Hoff who gets the 6 points. That puts him equal with Caleb Ewan in the points competition, but with no more sprints along the road, he can't get over the top of Caleb Ewan. So for the moment, it's still Caleb Ewan wears that green jersey for chain reaction.
Go Still written on the road, and it certainly was in that first intermediate sprint. All smiles from the Hoff.
Today's stage of the Jayco Herald Sun Tour takes place on the beautiful Mornington Peninsula. And you know, it's only an hour's drive from Melbourne. The region is a cosmopolitan seaside escape that offers a landscape of undulating hills, winding country lanes, breathtaking coastal views.
Morning, we're at stage 4 of the Jayco Herald Sun Tour, and look, normally last day of a tour you'd expect a bit of an easy day, some champagne, a bit of a procession, a bit of a sprint at the end. We've all seen it at the Tour de France, but I don't know what's going on here. I've just had a look at the mocker, and look at this, ridiculous. Not only do we have a hilltop finish, but we go up it twice before we finish, so I'm a little bit lost. I'm down on GC. We've got bloody hilltop finishes, and the wind's picking up. So, you know, I hope you enjoy it at home. I'm not very happy with it.
Well, we've come to know Neil van der Ploeg over the week, and I'll tell you, he's always happy, really, and he's in the Avanti team, and we know they're only 2 seconds behind in the team race overall. So Orica Greenedge better watch their backs today.
Look, I think he's very motivated for the stage, regardless of what he said. 37 kilometres to go for the peloton as they're coming through. The breakaway group hasn't been given too much room. It's only 1 minute and 13 seconds. It's been hovering between 1:10 and 2 minutes. Up and down it's been, but it's been working very well. Now, we're getting onto the bottom of the Arthur's Seat climb for the first time. Coming through the start of the King of the Mountains now for budget forklifts. 3 kilometres from the top, and King of the Mountain points up for grabs, Phil.
Well, this has been a workmanlike group, but they haven't been allowed to escape, and I suggest it's the presence there of Cam Bailey, because if he starts picking off the points at the top of this climb, then Robert Power is going to lose the race lead in the Budget Forklifts King of the Mountains competition, which he's held since the first day of racing on the open roads.
Well, there's Patrick Bevan, one of the big favourites for the overall classification, sitting in 3rd place overall. And a bit of pressure now from the breakaway group. That's Cameron Bailey sitting in 2nd position there. The man with the most to gain with those King of Mountain points sitting in 2nd overall. Handley at the 3rd position there in the black colours from JLT Condor. And that is Putt from United Healthcare. So these look as if they are the strongest climbers of the breakaway group. But there's a little group trying to get back on equal pegging here. The 2 Drapac riders, Spokes and Will Clark. And it's very interesting to see Steele van Hoff still in the mix, the sprinter.
Tanner Putt here, the under-23 champion of the USA, settling in nicely. This is the worst possible result if they hold this away. And this is Steele van Hoff, who's sprinted across the gap and is going to latch on here. Tanner Putt setting the place. Cam Bailey wants the points at the top. 24 will give him the lead in the King of the Mountains. Richard Handley, the British rider there. And just look at this. Steele van Hoff has gone straight through. Can they react? He's still smiling.
He was smiling through the sprint, now he's smiling on the climb. Plenty of support there as well for Steele van Hoff. He has such a big following in Australia. The Australian Criterium champion, but leading the riders up this difficult climb of Arthur's Seat. Still waiting to see if the Drapac riders can get back together with these leaders.
Well, Will Clark and Sam Spokes trying to get on terms for Drapac, but look at this now. He's responding to the cheers here. The Cordamentha real estate professional Steele van Hoff. He had a good sprint into Nagambie yesterday. He was 3rd, and now he's trying to show he can climb as well. This is the peloton, and look at the gap now. Inside 1 minute. They're coming for them on the climb.
Mitch Lovelock-Fay on the front of the bunch here. A little bit more of a grimace from him. Avanti Racing coming to the front. It's all about Patrick Bevan and Joe Cooper, sitting in 2nd place. Cooper, the New Zealand champion. The pressure a little bit too much there for Steele van Hoff. The Drapac duo still struggling to get across as well. Cameron Bailey around the corner. Tanner Putt's quite happy with forcing the pace. We haven't seen Handley come through to do a turn yet, but he's still strong enough to be there.
There's nobody else in the King of the Mountains competition in this front group except Cam Bailey, who will get 24 points if he goes over first. And that's why Robert Power sensed the catch and has had to go from the front of the peloton. He is the leader in the competition. He has a very painful left arm, which is swollen this morning, but he stomped away from the break. Surely he can't cross the gap before the summit. He's going to try.
Well, it is only a short climb of 3 kilometres, but it's very steep, Phil. So maybe he's able to get across. We'll wait and see. But it will cause a reaction, perhaps, as we see the 3 riders now coming around the corner here, not far from the top for them. And he's now coming through riders that were dropped from the breakaway group.
Well, he's coming up here on another rider. This is Jaden Kopp, who he's going past from the breakaway. Incredible riding by this young man. But can he reach the men he wants? He needs to score some points. Only the first 4 get points. And there's more than 4 riders still in front of Robert Power here. He's determined to try and do something, though. He's not going to lose that leader's jersey without a fight. But he knows the most dangerous man is right on the front of the trio. And it looks as though Cam Bailey is going to notch himself 24 points. This will give him the lead in the King of the Mountains, but there are still 2 more climbs up Arthur's Seat. He's making no doubt about that. The American goes over in 2nd place, Tanner Putt, Richard Hanley in 3rd. Only 1 place left for 4th now.
Well, back down the climb. Should only be around, less than a kilometre to the top now for Robert Power as well. I'm just looking back to see if I can see what sort of reaction there is in the main field. Well, it's obvious he's trying to get those points in the King of the Mountains competition, but he's right up there in the under-23s and in the overall class, so there are plenty of reasons for riders in the peloton to chase Robert Power down.
Well, it's time to take on the food here by Robert Power, but the leaders are on the way down. Sam Spokes has gone over in 4th place. There are no points for this man now, but he's on his way as he passes Matt Goss. Robert Power is trying to make the best and reach the leaders. Well, it's been a great effort on the climb. They've really cut into the front group, but now he's going to have to make a remarkable descent to reach those leaders. He'll need to fuel up now.
When you think neutral service at a bike race, you probably think wheels, bikes, SRAM. But on a hot day, like we have at the Jayco Herald Sun Tour, nutrition is all important. Obviously, so too is hydration. And Daryl from Shots, he's the man.
We provide the hydration and calories for the boys during the stages of the Jayco Herald Sun Tour.
And with the heat, I imagine you've been reasonably busy this week.
Yeah, it is. It's actually becomes really critical for the guys with their hydration, particularly the amount of sodium they're losing in sweat. From a hydration perspective, we have the electrolyte tablet. It's so there's no calories in the drink, so this way you can customise and adapt to different physiological makeups and the changing conditions. And from the calorie perspective, we've got energy gels, which basically it's a carbohydrate food in liquid gel form. That's a very high amount of calories in a very small volume. And then there's the caffeinated flavours as well, which cyclists love. And they're used for towards the end of the race where mental fatigue plays a role. And then we've got solid bar options. You might be off the front where you're using a lot more energy and a higher heart rate. So you're using different fuel sources. The key for a nutrition strategy over successive days is to minimise your percentage of loss and arrive to the final stage having the least amount of deficiencies.
You can ascend the summit of the highest viewpoint on the peninsula. It is, of course, Arthur's Seat, and you get breathtaking views, muddling mazes and stunning ornamental gardens. And you can walk up the 304-metre granite hill of Arthur's Seat as it's a ritual dating back to the settlement days. And the riders now have to climb that 2 more times. We've seen them go over it once, and we're seeing these 3 riders who topped it first together now pushing on.
27 kilometres remaining, 2 more times up the difficult climb of Arthur's Seat. And now it's Orica Green Edge. They took a backseat role for most of the stage. And now they've gone over the climb once. It's all about defending that yellow jersey of Cameron Meyer. Now this is the chase group. Steele von Hoff from Quartermental Real Estate Team and the 2 Drapac riders, Will Clark, who's been very active throughout this year's race, and Sam Spokes, who came into the race with great form in the summer of cycling. And they're trying to catch what they have. They've caught the 3 leaders. So 3 becomes 6, and they've gone straight to the front. They've worked very well together throughout the stage, all of the breakaway groups. Pat Shaw now from Avanti Racing, trying a different tactic. They were on the front chasing, setting tempo, Phil. Now Pat's decided to attack solo.
So we've got 6 of the original 13-man breakaway have got back together at the front. Pat Shaw trying to bridge across to them. There again is not a big gap between the front and the peloton, which is dramatically reduced itself there. Caleb Ewan on the front, the winner of the last 2 stages as well. He's now a workhorse for his team, and that is a big, I think it's Big Sam Bewley there indicating would our camera move on. They want this boy back in the pack, and the chase now is on. They're on the first of 2 16.5-kilometre circuits.
So much of this part of the circuit is very fast downhill, so there's not a huge advantage to the peloton when they're chasing a group of 6 riders. You can see the speed, Phil, as they're coming around this corner now. The 6 riders out in front can work very well together with so much of a downhill section. Pat Lane now from African Wildlife Safaris. There's a little bit of a lull back in the main field because Orica Green Edge know that the 6 riders out in front are not dangerous to Cameron Myers' yellow jersey in the overall classification. So they don't have to commit too much, and that's enabled riders to start attacking once more.
Yes, well, the boys in white will still monitor this. They'll try to make this a showdown on the final climb if they can do that and contain everybody. The man that won at the opening evening on Wednesday, number 41, Will Clark, is up there. On the inside of him in black is Steele von Hoff, and Richard Hanley is up there as well. Those 6 riders still clear. But I'll tell you what, Avanti here, who are only 2 seconds behind Orica Green Edge in the team race, are really putting on a real good display today.
Second and third in the overall classification as well. Joe Cooper in second, and that's Pat Shaw putting the hand up, asking for more support. He wants more of his teammates to come to the front to help the chase. 2 versus 6, not much of an advantage for the peloton chasing. He wants more Avanti riders on the front of that main group.
And now 19.5 kilometres to go. We're on to the start of the 3-kilometre climb for the second time of Arthur's Seat, and Sam Spokes is leading for Drapac. Very quick to take over, Tanner Putt of United Healthcare. Another 48 hours and he'll be freezing back in the United States.
Not something to look forward to, not thinking about it at the moment. They get onto this very difficult climb. It has an average gradient of 8%, but there are sections that go up much steeper than that. And it's Cameron Bailey setting the tempo. He wants those King of the Mountain points once again. This will possibly take him to a position where he can't be beaten in the overall classification of the King of the Mountains. Once again, it's Lovelock Fay on the front. Pat Shaw in second position for Avanti Racing. There's Joe Cooper, who's in the all white and black, but he's also an Avanti Racing rider, the New Zealand champion.
And remember, Joe Cooper only 4 seconds behind Cameron Meyer. Now remember, at the finish today, there are 3 time bonuses, 10, 6 and 4 seconds, first 3 riders up. So really, Cameron Meyer has no room for manoeuvre.
Well, job done by Mitch Lovelock Fay, now going out the back of the peloton, but he was driving it for Avanti Racing earlier on, doing a lot of damage, as you see. The camera now moving up towards the front of the group. We'll have to see who's now taken over from Lovelock Fay. And Androni Giacottoli riders there. Patrick Lane having some issues, hand up in the air, coming back through. And there's, in the red colours, number 44, Lockie Norris. We'll have to wait to see if he can do something later. Great atmosphere on the climb here, Phil, as they go around Rafa Corner. Steele von Hoff driving it forward.
Second climb of the hill. Cameron Bailey in second position. If he scores well on this climb, he will win the Budget Forklifts King of the Mountains, because there's not enough points left on the last ascent. But take your hats off to the Avanti Racing team. They are riding superbly. They've taken the race to Orica Green Edge today for sure. And it's still a reasonably sized bunch, this.
Great views from the top of Arthur's Seat across Port Phillip Bay. Now it's Cam Bailey trying to chase those King of the Mountain points. 1 kilometre to go for some possible more points for him. Now there's Joe Cooper, the New Zealand champion from Avanti Racing. He's a long way down the peloton, and his teammates from Avanti are up here on front. This is not good signs for the man in second place overall. Patrick Beffin is in second position here. He's looking good.
Welcome back to the 62nd Jayco Herald Sun Tour, as the riders now continue their journey around the Mornington Peninsula. The golf course is here, designed by the well-known players Greg Norman and Peter Thompson. It's a stunning place, even if you can only make it for the hour's drive from Melbourne and enjoy it. But these are the views you'll get on Arthur's Seat, and this is the breakaway, cracking again. Will Clark dropping off.
Well, perhaps not recommended to come down and ride Arthur's Seat. Drive to the top and enjoy the views. Much more enjoyable. 18 kilometres to go. Patrick Shaw from Avanti still on the front of the group. Now this is the peloton. 38 seconds is the gap. Patrick Bevan in second place and Mark O'Brien, the 3 Avanti riders.
The finish line awaits for the final stage of the Jayco Herald Sun Tour. And when all the riders get here, the one person likely to be the most relaxed is the race director. John Trevorrow, he's won the race 3 times. He's now been the director 3 times. But which one is more stressful?
Oh, no doubt, race director. But I don't really suffer from stress. I sort of manage to hand it out. The race director is an interesting role because it's about the safety of the whole event. So I'm really proud that we do run a safe event, but you also are looking at making good for the internationals and good for the younger riders coming in. This is the nerve centre, it's where it all happens. So we normally sit just in front of the leading group, keep in touch with the police. We hear if there's any little issues, we duck up and deal with that. This gets the top Australian teams a chance to race against the internationals, and I think that's what makes it something special.
Do you enjoy seeing that final trophy given out, the last yellow jersey, and reliving perhaps some of your victories?
Yes, I was a bit disappointed when I saw that they've changed the side now, so there's only one winner on there. Now I'm on the back, but there's another 60 there with me. But yeah, look, it is pretty special. This is the race director speaking. I'm also giving little updates to the commentators back at stage, so they can be giving some information. So we get it all come through here on the race radio. Going down to the wire, we've got the situation now, 4 seconds between first and second. If second beats first across the line today, he wins it by 0.02 of a second. So you can't get much more exciting than that.
John Trevorrow living the moment as he has done throughout his cycling career, as well as that of an organiser. Well, he'd be delighted with what he sees right now because he sees 5 attacking riders here, but the gap now is only 36 seconds.
Well, they're about 1.5 kilometres from the top here as they go around Melbourne Corner. Very steep section of the course. Now this is the main field, again led by Patrick Shaw, doing a sterling job for the Avanti team out in front here. Now, rider in green in 4th position, that's Caleb Ewan. He's supposed to be a sprinter, yet he's still there in the mix working for Cameron Meyer and Orica Green Edge.
Up towards the summit, and again the riders are not bothering to challenge Cam Bailey, and I'm not surprised at that because this competition is not for them, but it is now for Cam Bailey, because another 24 points, that was the punch of the air. He knows now he cannot be caught, and on the very last day he becomes only the 2nd wearer of the King of the Mountains jersey, and he's won the competition.
Well, Phil, I have seen riders celebrate as they've heard the bell with 1 lap to go in the past, but we know exactly why Cameron Bailey was celebrating then. He will go out as the Budget Forklifts King of the Mountains winner, and the Avanti-led peloton just coming through. 23 seconds the gap now. They've almost caught them, but it's still going to take a big effort because so much of this lap is downhill before they get back to the 3-kilometre ascent for the final time.
It's all been down to the boys in blue today. They really have turned on the star, but they're also thinking of their other team rider, Patrick Bevan, the New Zealand man. As we cut back here to Cameron Bailey, the first winner of a classification in the race today. And they're still speeding down here. We've been topping speeds of up to 80 kilometres an hour on this descent. We've got 5 riders back together. Still Will Clark hasn't rejoined the front group this time around.
Coming into the stage, there were 5 categories available with the team's points, King of the Mountains, under 23, and the overall race leader. All 5 were still up for grabs. We now have the winner of the King of the Mountains competition, the green jersey there. It's on the shoulders of Caleb Ewan. We don't expect him to get any points at the top of Arthur's Seat on that final lap, so Cameron Meyer might be able to take that one over. He wants the green and the yellow. And the under-23 competition, that's still up for grabs as well.
Well, there's every possibility here this race is going to come together at the base of the final climb up to the finishing line, and this time of course is the finish with the time bonuses on offer as well. These boys are scrabbling now to try and hold a very small advantage. If we go back to Will Clark, he's in no man's land here, but he's had a very good race today and he's wondering now just what to do. I think the advice is wait for the chase behind. This is Cam Bailey, still wants another. If he won the stage, he'd have a clean sweep of Arthur's Seat, but I don't think that's possible. Surely, hey, it might be. 55 seconds, they pulled away.
23 seconds at the top of the climb last time. Now it's gone out to 55, and that's the, I guess, the undecided nature back in the main field as to who is going to do the chasing. Avanti Racing had come off the front of the peloton, then everybody's looked at each other. Who's going to chase them down now? They're all starting to think about that final 3 kilometres of the stage. A little bit of discussion up here as well, so it's not quite as organised up here as it has been.
No, a little bit of excitement there when they saw that signboard, 55 seconds of gap. They're back to the main chase pack here. There's the yellow jersey. Now, let's not forget, those riders up front will not affect the race lead. In fact, for Cameron Meyer, if they all stayed away and swept up the bonuses, he'd be a very happy man because they're too far behind him after 5 days of racing. So Meyer is still in a very good position here.
He's sitting on the wheel of last year's winner, Simon Clark, #1. We just don't know. Has he recovered from the crash from yesterday? He looked pretty strong toward the end of yesterday's stage, but he was also bleeding heavily. So we'll have to wait and see when they get to the final time up the hill. Tuck position there for Tanner Putt. You can see the speeds now as they turn left into Boundary Road for the main field. And if the gap does go back over 1 minute, Phil, there's a real chance that those riders out in front can hold on for the stage victory.
Chase continues on here. That front group, this is Tanner Putt here. He's managed by the Belgian former pro, Hendrik Redant, who once won the great classic Paris Tours in the fastest ever recorded average speed for a classic. That record is gone now, but it stood for a very long time. 35 seconds at the gap, so the return has started, and we're looking now at Tyler Farrow, who finished second yesterday, now trying to close this gap down because they have a good climber in Serge Powell. If they can get him up to the leaders, you never know. Welcome back to the Jayco Herald Sun Tour. Well, like much of the region of Victoria, this one is no different. Mornington Peninsula is famous for its renowned wine, and much of the grape grown here is Pinot Noir because the climate and the soil suits it very well indeed. But the riders are under pressure now as they are approaching the final climb of Arthur's Seat, and as you can see, the peloton has regrouped and these riders here are now scurrying. 4.5 kilometres to go, 5 men holding only a slight advantage.
And all of these riders have been working very hard to try and stay away from the peloton. So you would imagine with the peloton just in behind them that they may explode when they get onto the climb in another kilometre. And a rider that's going to try and make that happen is Alberto Nardin from the Italian Androni Giocattoli team. He's come to the front to force the pace for his man Franco Pelazzotti.
Well, Pelazzotti's a great climber, and wrong end of the season for him at the moment, but he's finding his legs, I think, over these last few days. And as we head up towards the Arthur's Seat for the last time, the peloton's going to catch them almost like a metronome right at the base of the climb. And Caleb Ewan still in here, even though he's a sprinter.
Incredible performance. We talk about him being a pure sprinter, but he's so much more than that. Cameron Meyer in the yellow jersey, looking quite comfortable. And also Pelazzotti was sitting on his wheel. Now you can see the pace, it's really strung out there. It's going to come around, drift to the left here. We'll see 3 kilometres to go because they're right at the foot of the climb.
And it's the red jersey of Drapac here, ending the breakaway. And they've got a man up there in Sam Spokes, but not surprisingly, Will Clark here. Little flick of the elbow saying, come on, work with us now. We're approaching the final climb. Adam Phelan, who rode so well yesterday, brings the peloton up to the tail end of the breakaway. It's all over except for Tanner Putt, but I don't think he's going to go far now. They're now lining up for the last climb, and it really is going to be a case of every man for himself.
Well, Tanner Putt's teammate now, Chris Jones from United Healthcare, going directly over the top of the Orica Green Edge and Drapac teams. So this will be interesting. Obviously finds himself in a good position, thinks he's a good climber, and you can see the scramble now at the back of the main field.
Well, huge efforts from the back, and look at that yellow spotted jersey of Robert Power. Well, he may have lost the overall victory of the King of the Mountains, but the way he's coming up this climb, there's a chance he's going for the stage win, and that would be some consolation.
Well, the rocking shoulders there on the front of the main field. Jayco AIS jersey there of Alex Clements. That's Robert Power's teammate driving it for the young rider behind him. Orica Green Edge. Oh, here we go. Orica Green Edge, the green jersey for chain reaction of Caleb Ewan. Losing contact as we expected, but he held on for a lot longer than we actually really did think.
Now this is a race to win the race now, not just the stage, because there's only a few seconds separate the front runners. We're looking at the bicycle here of Chris Jones, still just about hanging on to the lead. But this is a vicious long climb of 3 kilometers. It hairpin bends and the gradients on the corners are steep. But they're still coming up, and he's holding them off just at the moment. But you know, I think, see how it kicks up there? Really sharp. Same again around the left-hander. And we're going to see this group come together. This is now a chase. Remember, the first 3 riders get time bonuses. Only 15 seconds covers the first 3 men in the race.
Well, once again, we can see Joe Cooper, the New Zealand champion, second place overall by 4 seconds, drifting towards the back of the group. The attacks are now coming. This is Lachie Norris. He's up there in the overall classification. Rob Power trying to get on equal terms with him. And Chris Jones still trying to hang on. The pace is too hot for him. Lachie Norris straight over the top.
Lachie Norris just 23 seconds off the yellow jersey of Meyer. He'd get 10 for the win. He only has to win by 13 seconds to win the race. This is a huge effort, but Robert Power has decided it might be a good wheel to follow. He's trying to get away from the pack. There is Power, but I think that left arm is really hurting him.
Well, the efforts on the first time they came up as well, maybe playing on the legs of Rob Power. Damien Housen now coming to the front. Simon Clark in second position. Then it's Cameron Meyer. And then just on the other side of Robert Power is Scott Davies, the young rider in the under-23 leaders jersey for Victorian State Government. The young British rider. But this is Lachie Norris out in front, out of the saddle, driving hard. It is such a steep climb, Phil. It's hard to make this sort of effort all the way up to the top. Steepest gradient on this climb is 15.8%. The average for the full 3 kilometres is 8%.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lachie Norris has really caused concern here to the Orica Green Edge. 1.9 kilometres to go. The chase group is becoming a bunch of very elite bike riders indeed. And Orica Green Edge know they cannot allow this man to get 15 seconds up the road because he'll win the race. It's alarm bells in the camp of Orica Green Edge. They must shut him down. It is one man, Lachlan Norris, here against the rest of a select group of riders. He needs a quarter of a minute and the 10-second win bonus to succeed. And Orica Green Edge are pulling him back.
He only has about 5 seconds at the moment. You can see him really starting to labour on his bike as well. Just looking down the list, there's Patrick Bevan in the blue colours. Joe Cooper, second placed overall, starting to drift off the back.
There could be a reshuffle anyway at the top here because Joe Cooper was only 4 seconds behind Cameron Meyer. He's about 7 now. As Lachlan Norris, this is a great attack by Norris, it really is, and he's causing strife in the Orica Green Edge. Damien Housen, I don't think has got much more in those legs, but then Simon Clark, last year's overall winner, will have to take it up. They've slowly but surely brought him back to the fold. That's tough cycling.
They have the numbers, Orica Green Edge. Simon Clark looking over his shoulder in second position just to check who was there. He saw Robert Power. He definitely saw the yellow jersey of his teammate Cameron Meyer. But Joe Cooper is in trouble. Second place may be drifting away from him. He's just coming around Mark O'Brien, his teammate from Avanti. Passes Ferguson from Great Britain as well.
Well, they've caught him, and now Cameron Meyer is going to feel he's in the driving seat now as he follows 2 teammates. Damien Housen is doing a terrific ride up the seat here. Having chased down the red jersey of Lachlan Norris, he's still setting the pace, and they've still got Simon Clark in second wheel. Well, Joe Cooper here is seeing his second place in this race drift away. He's losing ground. Patrick Bevan is, and there he is on the far side in the blue, is still up here. And again a surge from Damien Housen, and he's taking Robert Power with him.
Well, they're fighting for position here. We're almost at the top. Davies and Power, the 2 riders fighting out the young rider competition. Brendan Canty was in the mix. Pelazzotti is there as well. And there's Cameron Meyer getting ready. It's going to be a sprint to the top.
Well, this has really hurt just about everybody. They're coming up. They've gone round Melbourne Corner there as they make their way up towards the summit. And they're still looking like a sprint finish. I can't believe so many riders are coming to the line together. And take your hat off to Damien Housen. But look at the face now of Cameron Meyer. He's won most of the major races in Australia, but he's never won this one, and he's only about half a kilometre away from it now.
Simon Clark there in third position, and the sprinters started. Cameron Meyer, the overall race leader, has gone. Patrick Bevan on the left-hand side as well.
So he opens up the sprint here now. He may have gone a bit early. Robert Power is there, but he's lost it, and Patrick Bevan's through on the inside. The New Zealand rider on the Avanti team. Boy, they've ridden well today, and he's finished it off for him as he comes around the corner. Hope the brakes work. Patrick Bevan gets the victory, and that was the result of a super day by his team Avanti, and he will climb to second place overall in the race.
Well, it's Bevan for the stage, but the overall race winner was Cameron Meyer, congratulating Damien Housen on what an incredible ride he put in today. Simon Clark also contributed very well to that overall victory.
But this is the celebration for Avanti. They've worked for this all week, and it's paid dividends. This is the defence here, up on the inside, just when Cameron Meyer was going for the gold medal. Up on the outside came Patrick Bevan, and he took it on the line quite convincingly as well.
Paddy, you threw everything at Cameron Meyer, got the stage, but just missed out on yellow.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and in hindsight, though, there's not a lot we could have done. When you come into the last climb, the Greenwich guys are fresh, and they had 3 riders there with a kilometre to go. You've got to accept that it's going to be pretty hard to unseat them. So you start looking at the stage, and then that's a great consolation for both myself and the team at the end of the day.
When you look at the honour roll, Western Australian like Barry Waddell with 5 wins, Bradley Wiggins, Simon Gerrans. What does it mean to join that honour roll?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, this is the oldest stage race in Australia and one of the most prestigious. So I think someone told me that Stuart O'Grady and Simon Gerrans are the only ones that have done the double. So to join that honour roll of doing the Tour Down Under and Herald Sun Tour double is really happy, and I know my dad will want that trophy home tonight.
We were trying to push the GC, and we ended up having to do a lot of work during the day. And when it went hard the last time up, the group thinned out really quickly, and I just had to suffer my way through. I'm holding on for grim death, but I knew I'd be the quickest guy at the top.
So the big 3 on the day, Bevan the winner, on the left is Meyer, and on the right Simon Clark. Cheers all round, because Robert Power was crowned the State Victoria Government Under-23 champion, although he lost his King of the Mountains. Will Clark was voted the Subaru Most Aggressive Rider, while the chain reaction green jersey went back to Cameron Meyer, so he did get the double. Let's have a look at that green jersey chain reaction result. Meyer getting 24 points with his second place. Ewan, his teammate, second there. And great riding by Cameron Bailey, stealing the Budget Forklifts King of the Mountains on the very last day. 88 points in the end. He started the day with 40. Robert Power didn't get any, so he stayed on 48. But the man who won this brilliant trophy, the bicycle wheel, and puts his name on the one event he hadn't won, Cameron Meyer salutes the crowd on top of Arthur's Seat. It was a great result, and frankly, from the day he pulled on the leader's yellow jersey, he never looked like losing it, did he? But there was always only seconds in it. Patrick Bevan up to second at 11 seconds, Joe Cooper down to third at 19, Clark in fourth place. Well, as we prophesied at the start of the programme, there was a change in 3 of the 4 overall classification winners, and that's always a sign of a great race.
Oh, absolutely, Phil. And what a stage victory it was from Patrick Bevan, riding for Avanti Racing. Now, we only saw the emergence of him last year towards the end of the National Road Series, and already straight to the top of Arthur's Seat to win a stage in front of the big stars like Cameron Meyer and Simon Clark. So great result to see that. Rob Power is another emerging talent. We've seen him. We're talking a lot about him. And also Cameron Bailey. That was a great result to actually get the King of the Mountains over the top of Power. But in the end, just a fantastic performance and a dominant performance by Cameron Meyer in the overall.
Yes, well, I think we all expected Orica Greenwich to dominate this race. After all, they are the only World Tour team in the event. But that wasn't the case. Yes, they won it, but we've shown now there's plenty of young up-and-coming talent here in Australia. Until the 63rd Jayco Herald Sun Tour, we'll say goodbye.